And our next guest is Chloe Newby. Some of you will know Chloe because she's very, very involved in organizing, helping and organize the Home Education Families Festival. And Chloe was home educated herself. So for those who are interested in seeing the outcome, seeing what happens to young people who were home educated, you will get hopefully a little bit of her story as well. So I know she has joined the Zoom. I've just got to stop that share. And then there she is. And I will spotlight Chloe. And thank you for joining us, Chloe. Uh, just a little bit, I know that you weren't home educated for your entire childhood, but you were also one of these like strong-willed kids who kind of knew what you wanted and made sure your parents knew as well, weren't you?
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for having me. Yeah, home education wasn't my parents' first choice. They sent me to school, but I was just totally lost and alienated. I didn't know why I was there or what was going on, and I was super stressed. And they could see that in term time I was very withdrawn and couldn't function properly. And then in the holidays I'd be normal again. And so yeah, they took me out when I was 8, and it was a real revelation to me that you could have a life and it actually be just good. I did get sent back for secondary school at first, and then I came out again because my parents were sort of worried they couldn't cover the academic side. But then, yeah, similar thing. I very much didn't fit in, and I was a little bit more forceful about wanting to not be in school because I knew the alternative. And so, yeah, there was a little bit of strong-willed child meets parents who are just trying to do their best, and it worked really well once I was out and had kind of accepted that I'd got my way, but I had to do something with it. It was really good. I had an amazing time with quite a lot of self-direction, quite a lot of trying just random things that seemed interesting. Like I did work experience with a barrister, but also with a butcher. And I learned shorthand writing, and I sailed tall ships. So there were lots of opportunities like that that didn't sort of go anywhere academically, but were just finding out about the world and the society I lived in. And then alongside that, I did most of my sort of studying, I did just on my own in my room. Like, go away, everybody else. I don't I don't want to talk to you. And I sat some GCSEs as an outside candidate, which were just entirely self-studied at A-levels. And then I went on to study with the Open University because I had finished my A-levels when I was 17. So I thought, I'm not going to go to university and be too young to go out with the other kids. But also I was really leery of getting stuck back in an institution because school had suited me so badly. So I didn't go to college or anything. I wasn't interested in any of that. And being in the OU worked really well for me. I was able to study part-time, work part-time, get out with a degree and no debt. So that all worked pretty well. And now, yeah, I've got 3 kids of my own. So I'm a second generation home eder. My husband was also home educated, so we knew from the outset that's what we were going to do. And we've been able to organize our lives around that. I've sort of been involved with my home ed community locally all the way through, but there was that period between sort of 20 and 25 when I was too old to be a kid and I didn't have a baby, where I wasn't as involved. But I was actually working as a tutor, so I still knew some of the families and I was involved in some of the groups, but sort of from the other side as a facilitator rather than as a kid or as a parent. So I've taken every view, and it's been a real pleasure to see it from all those angles.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to interject here because there are 2 major things you've missed in that entire story. Okay, the last one is that you actually run the Home Educators Family Festival, which happens in Staffordshire, with a board, and you are instrumental in that. And that is the big major national camp and holiday that we have every year, is it not?
Yes, sorry, I'm terrible at self-promotion, but I am a founding director of HEF, the Home Educating Families Festival, which is a week-long camp festival with workshops, music, really good community, excellent place to let your children have a lot of freedom and explore a lot of things. And it's just lovely to bring the community together nationally and internationally. We have people from all over. So
Yep.
there's
a conference at that as well, which I am running next year. So
yes.
So we have to remember the conference bit of it. So there are 2 national conferences every year. There is Juliet's one, which is a day conference where you can rock up and go to that, and it's all in one day, and it's absolutely brilliant.
That's called Learn Free.
It's called Learn Free, and that's really terrific. These are really good places to learn things that you never knew existed, and to meet other home educators, etc., etc. And then the other national conference happens gently through the week of HEF, so you can come to HEF, have fun, and then once or twice a day there will be a session for the conference, and your children can be off and occupied doing other things. Now, the other massive thing that Chloe has not told you is that once upon a time we had a report that was commissioned by Ed Balls, who was then the Secretary of State for Education. This was in 2009 on the 17th.
Why don't you let her tell it, because it's her slot. Let her tell it, because
so
we're running out of her time.
Yeah, you need to say what happened.
Okay, so I was just home ed teenaging around, and I happened to hear on the radio that Graham Badman, who named him, had been commissioned to do a report on home education because it might be a cover for abuse and forced marriage. And I got very angry, and I got on the train with a hunk of cheese, and I insisted on meeting Ed Balls. I told security I had an appointment, and they didn't know what to do with me because I was 16, and I said I didn't have a ticket home. So eventually they said, sorry, he's in Darlington, but you can talk to his secretary. And the secretary kindly took notes about how they'd completely misunderstood how home education works, and that children do in fact have agency, and politely intended to ignore me. But a group of us aggrieved teenagers that year got together, because one of the themes with this idea was that Graham Badman's report said, oh, all the children I spoke to said that their home education was great and lovely and they really like it, but I only spoke to them in the presence of their parents. Therefore, we can't trust them and we need to interview them alone. And that was his recommendation for how the law should be changed. And we were like, well, let's form a group that is home ed children talking on our own. And so we made the Home Educated Youth Council, and I was chair. I was voted chair. I didn't just make it up myself. It was a group of us. And we lobbied as hard as we could. We had to wrangle with the system. We got given an appointment to meet with the DCSF, which is now is the Department for Education. And they cancelled on us on the day. So we sat around and had a little protest in their lobby while security looked on, and then came back another time, and they wanted to film us. So we laboriously made a transcript, because they hadn't given us permission to share the recording. So we just made a transcript of the 1.5-hour long meeting and published that instead. And they didn't really like that, because they looked like absolute idiots. Because they had these Every Child Matters agenda, it had a bunch of things that they wanted every child to achieve, and a bunch of the benchmarks were totally school-based. And it's like, how can you say you want every child to achieve being school-ready? That's not what we want. You can't judge home education on the basis of these benchmarks that have nothing to do with home education. And we went and lobbied our MPs. We came to various demonstrations and things. It was a busy time. It was a lot of fun. We had support from adults, but we were very much a self-led thing. We had some tech whizzes who set us up a website with some of the earliest HTTPS technology, and our own secure forums and stuff. So we really felt like we were doing it ourselves.
Yeah, but you also pointed out to Mr. Badman that he couldn't add up. Isn't that
yes, correct? I actually decided to make my degree in statistics. I did maths and statistics in the end, because I was so cross that he didn't understand basic statistics, because he was trying to say home educated children are more often known to social services, but he was only talking about the ones who were registered, and all of the ones who aren't registered aren't known, because if you get reported to social services, you are no longer unknown. So if you actually look across the estimated pool, we had a much lower rate. But if you only look at the ones that we know about, then you're picking from both pools because all the referrals end up going into the known category. And I don't know if he genuinely was just that stupid or if he just couldn't stand to be upstaged by me, because I was arguing with him in the bill committee, which we gave evidence to. But yeah, it was great because I'd spent my childhood shouting at the radio occasionally, and so actually getting to be the voice was really empowering, I guess. It was a lot of fun.
And
we kind of won. I mean, they said they were going to push it through anyway, but then the election came and we'd got enough of the Conservatives on side that it got kicked out in the wash-up. And it was my MP then, Nick Gibb, who stuck up for us. And I was very pleased with him for a few years. And then when the Conservative Party had been in power a while, they started being horrible to Home Ed as well. And he was a wet blanket then. So...
yeah, and you're now also a mum and home educating your own children, even though they're still quite young. We know this happens from birth, and we really need more Chloes now in this current fight that we're in with regards to children's well-being in schools. Well, would you want to sort of give a message out to those that have potential to be the Chloes of today?
So I mean, it's probably mostly parents who are watching this. So if you have teenagers, don't shield them from what's happening. Let them know, and let them know that they are in a unique position to do something about it, because the police really don't like arresting teenagers, especially like 15, 16-year-olds. It looks very bad. So if they want to get out there, they don't really have anything to be afraid of. Whereas as a parent, you have much more fear that if you bother the local authority, they'll come after you. The local authority can't come after you because your teenager wrote an angry letter to them.
Yeah.
It's actually a really powerful position to be a child and to say what you think and do what you want. And you don't have to worry about doing it perfectly. I'm sure we quite often didn't express ourselves perfectly, but you've got your own power. You can say, well, I don't comply with things like this. You can make your laws and I'm not going to do it. And, as the parent, you might be worried about going to jail. But as the teenager, you can be like, I'll let them go to jail. I'm not cooperating. And, don't take offense if they do that.
You have to use the power. You have to use the power you have. And I think I just want to also, I don't know if we've mentioned it, but you also married a home educating young person, home educated young person. So it's all in the family.
Yes, it is. It's very much a lifestyle decision from the outset and a philosophical commitment that, we met at a party. We had a lot of parties. As home ed teenagers, you get to travel around and see people. It was a lot of fun. And we knew that we wanted to home educate from the outset. He was completely autonomously educated from the start, which was really, really cool for me to see, because I'd been in the system and then been out, and I mean a lot of my friends had been home educated from the outset. We've got, in my local area there was quite a community, and obviously I had friends nationally, but it's definitely easier being on the same page, and it's so much more relaxing being second generation. I really appreciate the leap that my parents took, because they didn't know how it would turn out, whereas I'm like, I know a couple of hundred adults who were home educated, and they're all just people, like there's probably a higher rate of slightly weird jobs, like people in the circus or barristers or, like people who really went and did their own thing, more musicians, more business owners, because, if you follow your passion, it sometimes takes you to somewhere unusual. But my husband, he's a manager in a tech company. So he, having had a completely freeform play with Lego, bounce on the trampoline, tell stories while walking around in circles, childhood, he was like, oh, I'll go to college, I'll go to university, get my master's at Oxford. And I actually think that's one of the things that the government and civil servants hate. It's that because we don't do things at exactly the same rate as all the school kids, where, you study all these years and take this raft of GCSEs, because we leapfrog that. They don't know how to benchmark us, because we don't put in the work necessarily. Obviously we do, but in different ways. And then we end up getting things that they may have seen as something you have to grind for years and it has to be horrible. And we just sort of joyfully
learning's not supposed to be fun, is it? If it looks too easy, you can't be learning. If it looks like you're having fun, you can't be learning. It's got to be ugly and horrible, and
yeah. And it's amazing how if you come at life because you love what you're doing, things just open up. Even if you're sort of on the same level in terms of your credentials compared to someone else, if you're there because you want to be there rather than because you had to do something and you were going through the system and they said you had to do it, you show that, and people respond to that. And I think that really opens doors, that you're there because you chose it, and everyone knows you didn't have to be.
Yeah. Chloe, we're going to have to come to an end now, but I just want to say that Jade has said that you are inspiring. Her daughter's nearly 11. She desperately wants to do something to stand and unite children's voices, etc. Your voice of encouragement is amazing. And Chloe continues to be a voice, even with her 3 little ones and lots of other challenges. She does her best to do whatever she can for the home ed community. So thank you so much, Chloe. We really appreciate everything you do.